everyone, it is a box office prediction time. This is actually the last thing I'm doing home sweet home before running out the door and heading to the airport for my very first Sundance Film Festival, but I wanted to shoot at home if I possibly could, so I'm doing it right now, but I don't have all the data that I usually do before I make my predictions, so worth keeping in mind. Some of the information I would like to know right now are certain movies, maybe certain Oscar contenders now that are expanding, how many theaters they're getting. We don't have that data at this particular point in time, but I'm still feeling pretty confident in my predictions this time around. So before we get to those, we have our Fantasy Movie League recap from last weekend, and we had a ton of people get that perfect lineup. Here they all are on the screen right now. We're going to scroll on through 33 names. 33 people believed in Dragon Ball, way more than I did when I really should have. So a huge congratulations to you guys. Job well done. Now looking at my Fantasy Movie League lineup, which wasn't too bad. I did crack 100. Looks like I came in at number 76, which brought me down just a few notches. I think I'm something like around the 50 mark overall at this point, which I'm satisfied enough with, but at this point, you guys know me. I'm a perfectionist. I like to win. I like to get things right, and I'm disappointed in myself that I didn't look at those early Dragon Ball numbers and know to put it in my top 5. So the same exact thing happened with my actual top 5 ranking here. Dragon Ball did throw me off quite a bit, but before we get to that one, we had the number 1 spot going to Glass, of course, but that one did come in way under my expectations, taking $40.3 million for its first weekend in theaters, which is still a great start given the movie's reported $20 million production budget. Next was The Upside, which held on very strong, dropping just 26.3% and making another $15 million. Aquaman wound up in the 3 spot, adding another $10.2 million to its total. Then at number 4, it was Dragon Ball Super Broly, which wasn't front-loaded like I once thought, but rather made about $10 million on Wednesday and Thursday, and then still cracked the weekend top 5 with another $9.8 million. And then finally, we have Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which wound up with the strongest hold of the bunch, dropping a mere 16.4% and making another $7.6 million. Dewey has joined us for our brand new top 5, our top 5 of this weekend, and kicking it off with my pick for the 5 spot. I do think there is the slightest chance that Serenity, the new release, could wind up in this position, but let's be real, I got way more faith in Aquaman this time around. I think even in its 6th weekend in theaters, it is holding on to that 5 spot, and trying to come up with a percent change for this one, I'm looking at its entire run. Again, it's in its 6th weekend, and at this point, it has never dropped more than 44% in a single weekend, and I don't think that's changing this time around. In fact, I want to bring that percent change down a little lower. I'm going to give Aquaman a 40% drop, and that means it's making another $6 million this weekend. Now moving on to the number 4 spot. This is when I don't make the same mistake twice, because my number 4 pick for this weekend is Dragon Ball Super Broly. So what happened last weekend is the movie opened, and it opened really big on Wednesday and did really well on Thursday. I made the assumption that the movie was going to be very front-loaded and that when Glass came out, it was going to drop off. That is not what happened. It held super strong through the holiday weekend, and at this particular point in time, I'm looking at those ticket sales, and it's not changing. I do think this Dragon Ball movie is a bit of a surprise hit, so I think trying to find a movie to compare it to might only hurt me here. So I'm looking at those ticket sales, and I'm kind of going with my gut on this one, and I'm giving the movie a 35% dip, and that means it's making another $6.5 million this weekend. Now for my number 3 spot this time around, I'm going with The Upside. Again, I'm going back to current ticket sales for this one, and while I don't think The Upside is going to see a super minimal drop of 26.3% again, those ticket sales are looking good, so I don't think it's coming up too much higher than that, and I actually think it might be somewhat in line with the movie Book Club. That one dipped 26% in weekend 2 and then 30% in weekend 3. The thing is, The Upside does have a little more to lose, which is why I'm going to bring the percent change up to 35% and give The Upside another $9.5 million this weekend. And now it's on to my number 2 pick, and that's going to one of our newcomers newcomers for the weekend. It's The Kid Who Would Be King. I'm kind of sad to say that I'm not super confident in this one. I'm a huge Joe Cornish fan from Attack the Block, and I've heard some pretty good things about the movie, but I wouldn't say the marketing campaign has made all that much noise from my perspective at least, and also it doesn't really seem like that buzz is catching on too much either. I'm going to look at another young adult release that came out back in 2016. I've got my eye on The Fifth Wave right now. When that movie opened up, it took $10 million its first weekend in theaters, and given what the current ticket sales are looking like for The Kid Who Would Be King, I have a feeling it's going to fall right around that same mark. And granted, I do know that as we get closer to the weekend, those ticket sales could change, and I actually have been noticing that with more kid-friendly fare and also the horror genre movies as well. So those numbers could go up, but right now I'm settling on $10 million for this movie's first weekend in theaters. And now for my number one spot, that is where I'm keeping Glass. With this one, I went straight to Split last weekend, and it turns out it's an even better comparison than I could have imagined because Split and Glass opened right in line with each other. Looking ahead at Split's weekend 2, it had a very strong hold. It only dropped 36%. The thing is, though, Split had a better cinema score, a B+ compared to Glass's B. It also had much better reviews than Glass, and then on top of that, it had a better per-theater average in weekend 1. With all of that in mind, that would suggest that Glass is going to see a bigger weekend 2 decline, so I'm taking Split's weekend 2 drop, bringing it up to 40% for Glass, and that would mean it's making another $24 million this weekend. It is recap time now. Jumping into it, I have Glass topping the charts again with $24 million. Then it's The Kid Who Would Be King coming in at number 2 with $10 million. The Upside takes the 3 spot with $9.5 million. Then it's Dragon Ball Super Broly with $6.5 million. And finally, Aquaman rounding out my top 5 with $6 million. That's it for this weekend, but I will see you next weekend. It's just gonna be on a video that maybe doesn't look as good and as well lit as this one, but I am doing my box office predictions from Park City, Utah during Sundance. Hopefully I'm not freezing while I'm doing that video, but I'm having those box office predictions coming your way no matter what because I cannot miss a weekend. Before we close this video out, though, I've got some Patreon shoutouts to give, and it's for a big group, and I know I say this all the time, but this is really a special group of individuals, a whole bunch that I have gotten to know for a number of months at this point through the G-Chat tier, so a big shout out goes out to Ryan, Ian, Billy, Neil, Grady, and Nathan. Thank you guys so much. You guys have heard it so many times, but it means a lot to me that you're here and that we have this Patreon community because it really is a nice place to be able to talk about movies. So thank you guys for being here, and thanks to everybody out there for watching this video. Again, I love doing them, and you being here, it's just key to making it all happen. So thank you so much. Hit the comment section below, share your top 5 picks for the weekend right there. Go on over to Fantasy Movie League, lock those lineups, and I will see you next weekend from Sundance to see how we all did on our box office predictions.